We're going to get started in just a minute.
Morning. Before I'm really pleased to be here. I'm joined by the Director of the Division of Law, Mike Walters. Mike, there you are. Assistant Attorney General Brian McDonough. Jeremy Hollander, who's Acting Director of the Division of Consumer Affairs. Jesse Sierent, who's Chief of Consumer Fraud Prosecution Section. And David Reichenberg, who's the Chief of the Antitrust Litigation Section. I'm going to get to the really great work that they did in a second. I just want to address something that came in last night unexpectedly. As I was leaving an interfaith Seder that we hosted right after the holiday, we received notice without warning from the federal government of a number of really important law enforcement grants that are currently operational. These are not prospective programs. They are programs that are currently in effect that inexplicably they were terminated. These grants cover things like combating bias and hate, like intercepting cycles of violence, our violence intervention work, which has contributed to the lowest level of gun violence in New Jersey 2 years running, and we're below where we were last year at this point this year. It cut funding for things that help people who have opioid addiction get treatment as opposed to continuing to cycle through the criminal justice system. So I just want to underscore how callous and ineffective and reckless cuts like these are. If you think about the moment we're in, we just saw a week ago Governor Shapiro's house nearly burned down specifically because he was targeted as a Jewish member of his community. And yet we're cutting funds without warning for ongoing efforts to combat bias, using law enforcement tools to protect people from harm for being biased. That's not woke liberalism, that's law enforcement. Making sure that we have tools to intercept cycles of violence, prevent revenge shootings that have plagued our communities, gang violence. That's work that has saved lives in New Jersey. Programs that keep people from continuing cycles of addiction. We all know somebody who has suffered from and, God forbid, passed from opioid addiction. And these programs have saved lives. It's part of the reason why last year we had a 30% reduction in suspected opioid deaths in our state. So, needless to say, I'm offended. I'm angry. There was no warning. We were not consulted on how this would impact ongoing law enforcement efforts in New Jersey. These are current grants in place. We have never seen this before, and we're going to pursue all options. But this is not a way to run government. This is not a way to promote public safety. And I hope the Attorney General, Elon Musk, if he's involved in this, the President of the United States, starts thinking about the impacts that their decisions that are being made for political purposes have on the ground and affect people's lives in communities that I am in every single day, that they don't come to. And if they want to cut law enforcement programs that affect my state, I damn well want to be called, at a minimum. That's the partnership I've had with every administration, Democratic and Republican, before here. And that's the commitment I am making to work with anybody, as I've said, to protect our state. But to say we're going to cut programs that protect people from bias, that help people with opioid addiction, that keep guns off our streets, it's irresponsible, it's reckless, it's dangerous, and it's going to get people killed. So we'll be pursuing our options. With that, let's turn to the matter at hand. Another topic that I'm pretty fired up about. Having a place to call home, I think we'd all agree, is one of the most basic human needs. A place to relax after a long day of work, a place to rest our head at night, a place to raise our family. Sorry. A place to raise our family. But for too many New Jerseyans, the search for an affordable place to live has become increasingly difficult, if not impossible. This is thanks, in large part, to unscrupulous landlords and property owners who are putting profits ahead of the people of our state. And so I'm here to tell you that the skyrocketing rental prices that we're experiencing in New Jersey are not the result of mere competition or mysterious market forces. What we are seeing and what so many hardworking New Jerseyans are experiencing is the result of deliberate market manipulation. So today, we filed a lawsuit to stop it. This morning, we sued RealPage, Inc., a property management software company that serves property owners and managers, including 10 of the state's largest landlords. These include Morgan Properties Management Company, LLC, Avalon Bay Communities, Inc., Campson Corp., LaFrac Estates, LP, and its subsidiary, Realty Operations Group, LLC, Graystar Management Services, LLC, Aon Management, LLC, Camabees Management Company of New Jersey, LP, Veris Residential, Inc., Russo Property Management, LLC, and Bazzuto Management Company. These companies, who collectively own and manage tens of thousands of rental units statewide, have colluded with RealPage in a rent-setting scheme carried out through their use of RealPage's technology and through the exchange of sensitive information amongst themselves, all of which violate the federal Sherman Antitrust Act and the New Jersey Antitrust Act. They're also violating New Jersey's Consumer Fraud Act through unconscionable business practices that deceive and mislead consumers into believing the rental prices that they charge are market rate, when in fact they're set by an anti-competitive algorithm designed to drive prices to levels far exceeding what would prevail in a competitive market. These defendants work together as a rent-setting cartel, conspiring to make themselves richer by preying on the thousands of New Jerseyans just looking for a safe, affordable place to live. So how do they do this? Central to the scheme in RealPage's commercial revenue management software, they use sensitive, non-public information to set daily rents across participating properties. The landlords also exchange confidential information, indeed some of the most valuable proprietary information these companies possess, directly between themselves, flipping the normal marketplace on its head. When the market for rentals is competitive, properties work to attract renters with lower prices, with discounts, with attractive lease terms. In short, landlords compete with other landlords. But RealPage's software is designed to eliminate competition. Its so-called revenue management is really just a euphemism for raising rents unlawfully. The company's pricing algorithms are programmed to minimize price reductions and to facilitate collective actions by landlords to push rents higher. And this was no accident. In fact, in 2004, RealPage acquired software that had been built by the very same software executive who developed price-fixing software in the airline industries in the 1980s. The software was found to have cost consumers more than $1 billion in excessive airfares in just 4 years, from 1988 to 1992. RealPage saw this and wanted to do the same thing, and that's exactly what they did. And just like any other cartel, RealPage enforces strict adherence to its pricing recommendations to ensure that landlords stay in line. The company instructs landlords to misrepresent or withhold from renters entirely the truth about their pricing decisions. They use something called hard floors that involve proprietary pricing data from participating landlords to prevent a rental's price from dropping too low. And as more landlords join the cartel, thus eliminating more competition, that hard floor would rise. They even went so far as conducting secret shops where they pretended to be renters to see how low a landlord would drop the price of a rental. This ensured that landlords stuck to RealPage's price and didn't disclose the existence of the revenue management software they're using. In other words, they kept their cartel in line. And the landlords, in turn, worked to deceive consumers. For example, they employ misleading consumer-facing communications designed to conceal the cause of rent increases and limit the information available to our consumers, effectively undermining their ability to make informed choices. They told consumers that their prices were market rate and competitive when they knew they weren't. They advertised that they were supporting a quote-unquote equitable housing market when they were doing just the opposite. These landlords are not small players. They include some of the largest owners and operators of multifamily housing in New Jersey. As mentioned, collectively, they control tens of thousands of rental units in our state, in communities like Camden and Trenton and Jersey City, among others. Each named landlord has used RealPage's revenue management products in just the last 6 years to set rental prices. And make no mistake, these landlords knew what they were doing. As one landlord executive told RealPage, and I quote, "I always liked this product because your algorithm uses proprietary data from other subscribers to suggest rents and terms. That's classic price fixing," end quote. That's classic price fixing. It's no surprise that landlords like RealPage, their illegal conduct brings in higher rents and thus higher profits. But what's the result for New Jersey's renters? Increasingly high rental prices and few, if any, options. RealPage and every one of the landlords knew what they were doing. They knew the harm they were inflicting on thousands of New Jerseyans. And they didn't care that New Jersey is in the midst of an affordable housing crisis and part of a broader affordability crisis more generally. According to Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, half of all American renters are cost burdened, meaning they spend more than 30% of their income on rent. And millions of renters must spend half or more of their income on rent, half or more of their income just on rent. A 2024 study by the Center for Housing Studies noted, quote, lack of affordability defines both the for sale and the for rent housing markets. Here in New Jersey, the picture is even grimmer. Average rents in our state are among the highest in the nation, and the state currently has a shortage of over 200,000 affordable rental homes. The situation in North Jersey, where a significant amount of the alleged activity occurred, is particularly dire. Half of low-income renters are cost-burdened, as are nearly a quarter of middle-income renters. And renters in locations across the state face a highly concentrated market where individual landlords control thousands of apartments. Despite all of this, demand for multifamily housing is highly inelastic, which means that even as prices skyrocket, the demand for rentals remains relatively constant. That's obvious because renters need someplace to live. They can't forego the essential human need of shelter. So as a result, we all pay more. The defendants in this case know the housing market in New Jersey is already stacked in their favor, but they wanted more. Together, they conspired to drive rents even higher, pushing homes further and further out of reach for many New Jerseyans. The greedy cartel doesn't care that they're getting richer at the expense of hardworking families struggling to keep a roof over their families' heads. They don't care that they're forcing people to overpay for rent month after month after month, forcing them to choose between their housing and other necessities like food or medical care. These renters are being stretched thinner and thinner by the day. They're unable to save money and pursue home ownership or create generational wealth. They're unable to plan ahead and leave their children a strong financial foundation on which to build. It's enough. It's enough of this greed, and I'm not going to tolerate corporate greed that violates the law and hurts our residents. And if the landlords and property management software companies like RealPage are unwilling to follow the law, and they are unwilling to stop ripping off the people of New Jersey, then we're going to hold them to account. Our lawsuit today is seeking to make RealPage both stop their illegal conduct and pay back their illegal profits. I want every New Jerseyan who is struggling today, struggling because of a lack of affordable housing, struggling to pay their rent, struggling to make ends meet, that I want you to know that we understand, we see you, we hear your complaints, we feel the pain you're going through, and we are standing up and fighting for you. I want to thank the incredible team in the Division of Consumer Affairs and the Division of Law who have worked tirelessly on this. I want to again thank Chief Counsel Daniela Noguera and her last day in office, right up until the last minute. We have her for helping lead this case. This is part of a broader effort. You've seen us protecting consumers in our state from corporate actors that put greed over their interests, that would rip them off, that would force them to pay more for basic necessities. And I'm very proud of the work that we're doing here and across the spectrum to make New Jersey safer and to make it more affordable for the 9.5 million people who call it home. So thank you, and I appreciate you all being here this morning.